We are live.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
I see us.
We should be there. Got audio?
Yep.
Can you hear us? Good, good.
Give me some Mr. Music.
All right. Cue music.
I got my spies all over town. Sick of it all, turning me in, snapping my bones and stripping my skin, shutting my doors and kicking it in. Back to the end and where to begin. I've got my spies all over town. Oh, tell me that we're gonna get you out, 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 get you out. Taking my time and taking my days, giving me something sick and rage, holding me back from winning the race. Second place, second place. Got my spies all over town. Only tell me lies, you gon' get you out. I got my spies all over town. Only tell me lies, you gon' get you out. Sick of it all, turning me in, snapping my bones and stripping my skin, shutting my doors and kicking it in. Back to the end and where to begin. I've got my spies all over town. Oh, tell me lies, you gon' get you out. I got my spies all over town. Tell me lies, you gon' get you out. I got my spies all over town. Tell me lies, you gon' get you out.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, no. We're back.
Don't you
We are
mess
back.
with me,
No.
Facebook.
Yeah, it went to 0 and now it's back.
What the heck? Man, I'm so glad to be here. I hope you guys are ready for a action-packed show tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I actually labeled this show with this name, Freaked the F Out,
Yeah.
because it is a direct quote from an interview that I did with Wesley Clark Jr.,
Oh, yeah.
the man who orchestrated and raised money for the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, along with Michael A. Wood Jr., that was advertised on TYT and for which they raised millions of dollars. Right? That guy said those exact words in this interview. And the interview is actually 3 hours and change.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to play all of it tonight because that's a crazy amount of time. That's even longer than most of my shows.
Exactly.
But I am going to play unedited and uncut the first hour and 27 minutes.
26. Yeah. 126.
Where he basically, I mean, this is kind of the meat and potatoes of the conversation, in which he basically called to tell me he was very, very freaked out because of all of the associations that he had basically had done on him as a result of learning about all this stuff that happened in the Kathleen Bennett case. And he was going to tell me this is part of a much, much bigger plan, a much bigger operation, and this is what it entails, and here's who's involved. And he just goes for an hour and a half basically telling me all of this stuff.
Yeah, a swear word warning whenever you get Wesley Clark on the phone, and Cindy. There's lots of swear words, and we're going to play it unedited, but when we play this on the air in our local community on 88.1 FM, of course, we'll go through the whole thing and take out all the swear words. We can't have that running on the air. But for your enjoyment, you hear it unedited, uncut, hour and a half interview from June 16th, 2017, I believe.
Well, Duke, the thing is that ever since we did the show Let's Talk Turkey, where I showed Wes Clark Jr. and Wes Clark Sr. with the woman that remained working, I believe, as proxy for Wes Clark Jr. In the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, Sadef Buyakataman.
Oh, yeah.
We're all having a barbecue at Wes Clark Jr.'s house in L.A. with Wes Clark Sr. present and Sadef's dad, Kaya Alep Buyakataman. Both of whom are, and this is Kaya and Sadef, daughter and father, are the president and communication director for Turkish Watch, a propaganda publication that is pro-Erdogan, that they used to raise money to buy a submarine to improve Turkish-American relations.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Remember when I talked about that?
Yep.
After that call, Wes got very upset with me. And, frankly, I feel like I was the one that should be upset. Because in discovering that piece of information, which he never mentioned to me before, I also learned that what he had said to me about his father being really angry and his whole family being very mad, and they didn't want him to have anything to do with the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock. His wife nearly divorced him afterwards, wanted to take the kids. His father nearly disowned him. That all of that is hogwash. That it is a lie. That his dad was definitely aware. Not only that, but he wasn't mad at him. He was on board with it. He had already met with Sadef Buyakataman long before he went out to the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock. And his story about when they developed the plan to do the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock and for why changed as the Kathleen Bennett case evolved and was finally solved, and it changed over time as many of the people that had been employed as part of this massive operation got arrested for doing criminal things somewhere else.
Yeah.
Then it was at that point that he would say, "Oh, that person, they are trash. I never liked that person." And I think that it was right around June 17, is that the right date?
16.
16, excuse me, that one of those massive oh crap moments happened to him where he realized that a lot of these people that were in Flint, Michigan, that were criminals, that were doing bad things, were going to get themselves arrested. We're going to get themselves visible. And he was going to be connected to them. So he decided to call me in a panic and come clean. Although, of course, he wasn't really associating himself with them. He was saying, I was at one point. I see what they are now. These people are bad. I'm going to tell you everything of what I think they're doing. And, I'm starting to think Wes was lying to me about a lot of things. I'm starting to think that it wasn't just a lie that his dad didn't want him to go out to Standing Rock and that his dad was actually supportive of him. I have found evidence that his father was actually helping him with the little startup business thing. Maybe he's gonna, profit off of. And, of course, I have also recently learned that Wes's dad, Wes Clark Sr., also has some connections to the Nexus Group.
Oh.
And of course, that must mean that he does too. That's how he knew about these folks with the inherited wealth. So I wanted to share the photo that we showed in Let's Talk Turkey of Wes and Dad and Wes's and Sedef's dad. Wes's dad is Wes Clark Sr., former Supreme Allied
Commander of
NATO and also ran for president at one point, 4-star general. That guy right there on the left in the
chartreuse.
That's like a teal green.
Yeah, teal. There we go. Light teal.
Light, very teal. Shirt, and next to him in a deeper blue is Kaya Alep Buyakataman. That is Sedef Buyakataman's dad.
Wow. And
they're at a barbecue at Wes's house. And for some reason, in all of the pictures that are in Kaya's photo album of this visit, of this party, of this barbecue, there isn't a single picture of Wes or his wife or his kids that I could see. But in the phone call he made to me right after the show, Let's Talk Turkey aired, in which he wanted to correct some things, he told me his son broke his arm and he had to take him to the hospital, and that's why he's not in the pictures.
I see.
But I think that story is also hogwash because there are pictures of his kids that don't look like any one of them has a arm sling or any kind of cast, just days after he claims that one of them broke their arm. And furthermore, I think him and his wife were hanging around because they took this picture with some of the people that appear in this party. And I'll go over this stuff in another time. I just wanted to show this to you. This is Wes in his garage. And these people were all, many of them were all in the pictures of Kaya. They were in the background or in the barbecue somewhere eating food along with Wes Clark Sr. and Sedef Buyakataman and her dad and her stepmom. All these people here in the garage in the same clothes they're wearing right now.
Oh, you see.
Are in that barbecue. And there's Wes and there is his wife, Anna, right there in the middle. And these folks, whom I'm assuming are friends of Wes's, were all at the party with Kaya and Wes Sr. on that same day. So Wes was around. He was there. I don't know why he didn't want to be in the pictures, but whatever. So here is Wes's dad. And this is the Nexus Global page. I want you to look at this event that they were inviting people to in 2018. This is June or July of this year. Oh, June. That says right there. Through 8th Annual Nexus Global Summit, which took place July 26th through the 28th in New York City. And the summit, They had 600 plus leading next-gen philanthropists, impact investors, social innovators from nearly 70 countries. That means rich people with a lot of power and wealth.
Exactly.
And we need to find out what these people are and who these people are about. What are they about? What do they want to do in the world? Well, of course, we know one of those people is Christina Hallenbeck.
Yep.
And, you know, we talked about Christina and this Kathleen Bennett case. She's the woman that helped to get all of the false statements against Kathleen Bennett and took them to the cops with Mulaney. She was the one that helped orchestrate the kidnapping of Mary and with the hospital. I mean, this woman is a straight up criminal of the highest order. But she's rich, so for some reason she can go around kidnapping grandmas, and Wesley endorses this. It's okay then, because it's rich people. Because I don't know how he doesn't know her and how he doesn't know all of the people that he was talking about in this interview I'm about to play for you, when in fact his dad has spoken at one of these Nexus events in the past. Here is his dad at such an event. It's prominently featured on their website. For this event, sign up for the 2018. And there's a bunch of past event pictures.
Yeah.
This is one of them. And here is in the roster where he appears. Past summit speakers include General Wesley Clark, NATO's Supreme Allied Commander for Europe.
Wow.
So don't pee on me and tell me it's raining, Wes. You had to know these Nexus folks more than you gave away. That's what you were telling me about the Thompson Frank person and all that. You have to know that eventually we would figure this out and we would call it out because you did nothing to help a woman that many of your friends helped to put in a jail for 6 months. And also that y'all helped to put a elderly woman with dementia, a frail woman who could not defend herself, in an early grave. You monsters. You saw this frail little woman, this tiny woman, and you decided you were going to exploit that. So disgusting to not do anything about it. I hope your conscience is talking to you. And I don't know, but we're going to go back through all of those people that were with him. I'm going to find out more about not just Wes Clark's wife, Anna Perry's Clark, but all those folks that were in that garage with them that day. They were witnesses to this important meeting between the Turkish Forum creators and moderators of this publication and Wes and his friends, Jerry D'Souza, all those people in that garage picture. You know the garage picture I showed you, honey?
Yeah.
That was Jerry D'Souza, Sabine Klinger, Darren Edwards, Kavan Jolson, Griffiths, Christine Griffiths, Nakaya Gale, Cruz Horton, Vicky V, Steve Crawford, George Horton, Jennifer Mills, and Ray X-Ray, along with Wesley Clark and Anna Perry's Clark.
Wow.
So they all were there for that. They all know that this went down, that it actually happened. And before I get to this recording where I'm going to share with you, I'm deviating from what I told y'all I was going to do in my last show, because I was going to take you over to Portugal and show you what that fake Miwok Indian woman that they had working with Winnie Wong, Desiree Kane, went out to do with LaDonna, Mama LaDonna. But I'm going to get back to that because I realized there was something wiser and more important I need to do, which was to set the stage and show you and tell you what Wesley Clark Jr. asserted about a lot of these people, what he said they were up to, and what they were involved with. But first, Duke,
yes,
please tell people how they can get a hold of us and how they can follow, and especially how they can support our work.
Definitely. Well, there's a bunch of ways to get a hold of us. You look at your screen. There's 701-566-0917. That's our message line. You can call and leave us a message, and we can get back to you, or you just might want to have something to say. You could actually record something, and we could play it on the air. We've done that before, and people have called and left messages, and they wanted them aired. You can also find us by email. You can email Cindy at kpppfm.com and me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. Also go to kpppfm.com. That's where we put all of our podcasts. I actually don't have the latest show uploaded yet. I'll be doing that later tonight. And you can go see all the archived shows we've done. You can go to a Mexican Crossing Lines, see all the Mexican Crossing Lines. They're in video and audio format. We've been uploading them to YouTube also. That's why it takes me a little longer. So we have them stored on YouTube instead of Facebook because Facebook's messing around with us all the time. Mm-hmm. And you can leave comments on our website on every post. There's a contact form on our website. There's also a donation tab because we're a nonprofit organization. We're a nonprofit, non-commercial, educational radio station in Fargo-Moorhead. We happen to do a lot of Facebook Live feeds, and then we take the audio from a lot of them and we make them into radio programs so people in the local community can hear it as they drive around their vehicles or they listen on their radio. Mm-hmm. You can also go to our Facebook, 88.1 KPPP, and 88.1 Fargo-Moorhead. So find us. A lot of people tend to go to our Facebook. It's a totally open public page, so you can leave messages there. We also have the People's Press Project of Mexi Dashcan, and Cindy has a public page at Cindy Gomez-Schempp. So there's many ways to get a hold of us, many ways to get us information. Thank you for all of you who do that. We do get quite a bit of information. We go through it, and sometimes we don't get back to you right away, but we're not ignoring it. We definitely read everything and go over everything, and we figure out how we can use it or, and get a hold of you and get more information, those sorts of things. So thank you very much for supporting us and participating with our research.
Also, I'm going to shout out to the other LPFMs out there, some of whom have reached out to us and asked if they can play a Mexican Crossing Lines on their stations. The answer to that is yes.
Yes.
Please help us spread the word.
Mm-hmm.
If you play my shows in your area, that means more people get to learn the truth about what really happened at Standing Rock. And I'm going to keep digging. I have to tell you that one of the ways in which Wes Clark was able to string me along for all the time that he did was because he was telling me that he himself was the victim of being set up. He was set up by these people.
Okay.
He was unaware that this was that they were bad people, that they were involved with bad things, and that they were doing anything. And so along the way, he would recommend for me to talk to people, all of whom he called at the time friends. And then, he started to speak negatively of them as I discovered what they were and started speaking negatively of them myself. And then he would be like, wow, that's crazy. This is the first I'm learning of it too. And another way that he was able to string me along was that he was telling me, I am, as I learn stuff, as I realize something bad is going on, I am calling the FBI and I am reporting it.
Yeah.
I've done this report, and there were many times, as you know, Duke, where he called me and said, can you please record? Are you recording? And I always said to him, of course I'm recording. I always record everything. And he would be like, good. I need you to stay on the phone with me. I'm driving. There are people following me right now. I'm under threat. Numerous times where he called me, freaked the F out. And I now believe he was doing that in this very theatrical way to get my sympathy, to make me believe, to sell the idea that he himself was a target, that he himself was duped, set up, and that he was now being threatened or, surveilled, followed, for what purposes, I don't know. But he told me he was reporting it to the FBI, and you'll hear him do it in this interview as well. So those two things led me to believe, I was taking him at his face value. He's the son of a 4-star general, and he was telling me he's reporting this to the FBI, and that all these people are going to get their just desserts. And I even told him, I love you for doing that, because we had no support from people in the media, from people that were doing media work out at Standing Rock for the Kathleen Bennett case. It didn't feel to me like anyone was going to stand up for Mary Trujillo, this frail Lakota woman with dementia left to die in a hospital, or her daughter left to rot in a jail. And I couldn't believe that people who claimed to want to help Indigenous people, that were out there specifically rubbing up against every Indian that they could, were ignoring this like huge case where a woman was facing 15 years in prison and another one could die. And Manape, one of the headsmen, said flippantly he had her ordered removed from the camp and jailed.
Yeah.
And he felt he slept great at night knowing what he did to Mary Trujillo. The kidnapper herself, Mulaney Stoneman, no remorse,
Yep.
no sorrow shown for the time that, I mean, the kindest thing she ever said was that when her own daughter, or when her own foster kid was allegedly raped, and now that he's been convicted of that,
Yep.
by Derek Bassig. She told people to stop asking her about Kathleen Bennett, and then she said if she's still in jail, I don't think she should still be there.
Yeah.
That was the kindest thing she ever had to say about her. But these people, none of them got in trouble, showed remorse. It seemed that they were being protected by much higher powers, moneyed powers. People that were working directly with law enforcement, people that were working directly with the WPLC, people that were working directly with the glitterati, the people in the campaigns, whether Bernie's or Jill's, people that had the ear of the media. These were the people that were involved in jailing an innocent woman and nearly killing her mother. She did eventually die. She went to an early grave because of the horrible treatment that she received at the hands of these people. The very people that Wes was telling me he was associated with. And so the only way that I could understand that he wouldn't have had them arrested or used all of his celebrity and his name and his power to free Kathleen Bennett, to keep Mary from dying in that hospital alone, and to expose any of the people that he was associated with the Veteran Stands for Standing Rock, for what they had done, to expose them, to make sure that justice was served and that these people went to jail. The only reason that I continued to believe in Wes and support him was because he told me that's exactly what he was going to do. He told me that was exactly what was going to happen, and he was going to make sure of it. In this call, you will hear him name a lot of people. I'm going to tell you what to listen for because I don't want you to miss it. You may have to go back and play it several times just to make sure you caught all of these parts and pieces you are about to hear, okay? Because in addition to that little clip that I have played from this, I played you that little clip over and over and over again where he names all the people that got him to go out to Standing Rock. Nora Maccabee, right? Jen Spalding, who was one of the witnesses in the Kathleen Bennett case, along with Robin Gage, right? Sadefu Yakataman, Chris Dussing, Lawrence, Kansas, the staging area that they had there. Mike Wood Jr. or Mike Wood stealing $450,000 plus messages that he wrote to Michael Wood Jr. when they supposedly fell out at Standing Rock. And this message that he reads, that he wrote to Michael Wood Jr. and the response from Michael Wood Jr. Elucidate a lot of exactly what their stories were going to be. So listen very carefully to exactly what he says to Michael Wood Jr. and what Michael Wood Jr. responds. He also throws Jordan Sheridan and Chelsea Lyons Kent under the bus and tells me that Mike Wood Jr. was meeting with those two. And he calls her some kind of a Nazi person. So he alludes to the fact that a lot of these people are connected to the alt-right. And of course, you would know Remember the pictures I showed you in my last show of Evan Duke III at an Antifa rally? That guy has a violent criminal history. But he was standing right next to Tulsi Gabbard in my last show.
Yeah.
The Gift of Gab. With Tulsi Gabbard, featuring Tulsi Gabbard, and all those veterans stand for Standing Rock Veterans Respond, Veterans Service Corps, whatever the hell. They turned it into so many different things. People, including Evan Duke. And of course, Chelsea Lyons and Ed Higgins and all of those people that he's going to be talking about. We now know that they're associated with the alt-right. We now know that they were always for Trump. We now know that they were always connected to the Russians. And they're just showing more and more of, they're letting it all hang out now, those associations. So it'll be very interesting for you to hear. And remember the show in which I showed you Victory Lundquist and who she was and how she was working with Christina Hollenbeck and how she was supposedly one of the people that he was concerned about? He talks about that more in depth in here, and how this Victory Lundquist locked him out of his room and turned it into a women's place. They were going to turn it into a safe place for women that had been abused or raped or something, right? Kathleen Bennett's mom ended up sleeping on a cot inside the pavilion, and she ended up sleeping on a metal tray on the floor next to her mom because Mulaney and Christina Hollenbeck and all these people that tried to kidnap this woman so many times lied to her and her mother, told them, you need to evacuate out of the camp and we're going to get you a room at the hotel. And they never did. They never did. So he also talks about Mike Wood Jr., get this, getting together a bus load of Nation of Islam black militants to go protest in Bismarck in front of the police center.
Oh.
You mean the hate group associated Louis Farrakhan's Nation of Islam? That Nation of Islam that Tamika Mallory is so fond of, the head of, that this other woman, Linda Sarsour, also thinks is just the goat, right?
Yeah.
You mean that Nation of Islam? Well, maybe they had the means. When I heard that the first time on this recording, I thought, boy, that just sounds insane. But now that I know that Tamika Mallory and Linda Sarsour are friends with Louis Farrakhan and that they're associating with terrorists and people that support terrorism, it don't sound so crazy no more. They talk about that. He talks about that. Listen to all the things he knew about and was connected to on when? June 16, 2017?
Yep.
You can tell me the date if you know it. So he also talks about Gwendolyn Cates and Christina Hollenbeck, of course. And he tells us he tells us a lot more about Sadef. So he told me, and this is again in June of last year, that Sadef Buyakataman had an apartment in Santa Monica. So he knows where she lived. And he said that she had been paying that apartment rent every month. How would you know that?
Yeah.
He later told me in recent calls he hadn't talked to or had any communication with these people for a year or longer. In fact, in the call where he called to yell at me about the Let's Talk Turkey show, he told me he had no contact with her at all for a year until that very night. And while we were on the phone, she texted him.
Wow.
But prior to that, he didn't know nothing. But here in this call, he's telling me paid the rent for that apartment for months and months and months and months. And claims she has no money, but still she's paying a really hefty Santa Monica rent to keep this house while she's out at doing whatever she's doing, traveling around with this group. She talks about Nexus and Christina, and that's very important for you to listen to because I'm going to be telling you more about what he knows about them and his daddy. Him and his daddy, because both of them know. And he talked about the special forces, about J.R. American Horse, and Christina asking Russia, Christina Hollenbeck and Menape going to the UN to ask Russia for help for indigenous people.
Wow.
To ask Russia for help. Yep, that happened. Russia needs to help Menape. That's what they went out there to ask for. This is what he says. And he's saying he has knowledge of this stuff last year. He also talks about Tiger Swan, and he calls the that place, that building that got burned, the HQ that got burned.
Yep.
He calls that Tiger Swan OP.
Really?
Yeah, he really wants. All of these people want to blame Tiger Swan when it was his people that hired Bill Runningfisher.
Mm-hmm.
It was his people that hired L'Oreal Blackshaw and paid them to commit crimes. Not Tiger Swan. So he also talks about Michael Marcus. Was he talking to Michael Marcus about? You'll find out in this interview you're about to listen to. It has to do with L'Oreal and her identity of the past and her murdered child. And then, of course, he talks about the other people that are connected to this Travis Biolette and a staff meeting that they had on the night of the 6th. And he says that Travis Biolette was the guy that collected all of the shrapnel from the Sophia Wolanski explosion and turned it over to the WPLC.
Mm-hmm.
What? Interesting stuff. It's
Yeah.
just chock full of crazy stuff that you want to listen to every bit of. Travis and his tattoos and his visit to New York. Travis is a guy he says worked with 10cc, one of the security companies out there, I think, or whom he suspects of being some kind of bad guy. And he also talks about racial attacks, and he told me that there was he sustained a racial attack. I think he's told the story to other people. It's kind of an interesting one that I don't want to get into tonight, but listen for it. And of course, he talks extensively about TYT, Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur, the reality show, some reality show that he was going to get involved with, Bernie Sanders and alternative media, and how Bernie Sanders' campaign is funded by Russians and Turks, possibly also in addition to TYT. There's a lot, so I'm just going to go ahead and let you get to it. Here is my June, what was it, honey?
It's June 16th, 2017.
June 16, 2017 interview with Wes Clark Jr. Hi, Wes.
Hello? Hey, is this Cindy?
This is Wes. How are you doing?
Freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been feeling like that for a really long time.
This is all, like, this Kathleen Bennett thread is all part of something much fucking bigger.
Yeah.
Has Josh shared with you the stuff we've got?
From yesterday?
Yeah, the Christina Hollenbach signal texts.
Yes, that was something he was telling me about yesterday. I was piecing the
And by
conversation.
the way, I've made multiple fucking calls to the FBI about all this over the last week. I've called the Manassas office. I've called the LA office 4 times. I've sent emails. I've sent the identities of everybody involved.
I love you.
Oh, Cindy.
I do.
I mean, it's really, this is the most, okay, so let me tell you the story as I understand it now based on pieces I've put together. You know, I got on Twitter like last May, and sometimes people message me, and because I'm a nice guy, I always engage everybody, and I just talk to them, and I tell them the truth of how I see things. So one of the people who messaged me, and be very careful, like, clicking on anything related to this person. She was at Kura Manga, spelled Kuramanga.
Okay.
And she, I think, contacted me in June. I went back and tried to check my Twitter DMs yesterday, and all my DMs with her are gone.
Huh.
And I didn't erase them. So 1 month, less than 1 month later, after this kind of interchange with her, and it was pleasant and nothing sexual or anything, I was contacted by Sean Stone, Oliver Stone's son,
Okay.
who said he wanted to write a movie with me.
Okay.
1 month later, I get a call from a man named James Martinez. James Martinez says he got my number from a friend of mine named Nora Maccabee.
Okay.
When I called Nora and asked her yesterday where she knew James from, she said he was a friend of Sean Stone's. So the first question is, why would a friend of Sean Stone's go to a friend of mine to get my number when they could have gotten my number from Sean Stone?
Right.
So he became the person who got me involved with Standing Rock. He called me up and he said, I was friends with Russell Means, and, I'm here to... He told me I needed to save the Lakota Nation. And he became my go-between with Phyllis Young. Phyllis Young I'd never talked to her without him calling Phyllis and connecting us.
Wow.
At first they wanted my dad out there. And my dad was like, fuck no. So, I told you all this story when we, did the interview back in January, how that month went. I think almost everybody surrounding me out there and in the leadership of Veteran Stand, this may sound crazy, is part of this Russian operation.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's crazy anymore.
Not only that, I think these people are the people who are going to pull off the proverbial Reichstag fire to put us under martial law through orchestrating a race riot in Flint, Michigan, in combination with a pipeline attack in the Dakotas.
I've been hearing about that in Flint for a while. Ever since I covered this story.
Remember I said I got death threats when I came back from Standing Rock?
Yes.
They were specific to Flint.
Wow. Wow.
And all those people I was out there with, like the people directly around me, I'm sure you're going to recognize these names. Evan Duke.
Yep.
Travis Biolette.
Yep.
Chris Dussing. Possibly Sadef Buyakmatan.
Yep.
Jesse Elnicki.
Yes.
Mark Sanderson. And someone I didn't meet personally out there, but somebody who was involved with this group named Nico House.
Wow.
Now, all of these fucking people have reached out to me since the Intercept article. And it's mainly to find out what I've known. I tell all of them, I think Ed is a fucking infiltrator, but I don't have proof. And I tell them, I think everybody's being used as part of an op. But, I mean, Cindy, just with what I can learn on Facebook, like I've learned the greatest way to find anything out is do the Google search, but do it from 2015 back.
Yeah.
But here's the other freaky thing. Every person out there in that leadership team had some backstory that connected them to me.
Sure.
So, Chris Dussing was supposedly a rifleman company commander in K4 under my dad's command during the war in Yugoslavia.
Wow.
Do you recognize the name Jen Spalding?
That sounds familiar.
Jen Spalding was the officer in charge for the Eagle Butte staging area.
Oh, yeah.
Jen Spalding, when I met her, was, by the way, one of the first people I met when I walked into the fucking casino. She was sitting right outside that little fucking restaurant in a wheelchair with a fucking heart device on, telling me that she'd just gotten out of chemo, she had 6 months to live, and that she was in this state of affairs because of a brutal attack she'd suffered in the military where people kicked her in the head. I also suffered an attack in the military where I was kicked in the head.
Uh-huh.
Okay, anyway, so she was the head of the people down in Eagle Butte. And she had this story about being attacked by neo-Nazis when she was there. Mm-hmm. But what I've noticed is she drives all over the country. She's still alive and heading to Michigan. Now, when you look at her Facebook page, it says, all the places she's lived, like, Texas, Oklahoma, Carolinas, Georgia. Nothing about Michigan. But if you do a search of just her name, like in quotes, and, before, 2015 and earlier, the only shit that shows up about her online is A, that she's disabled, and claims to be a veteran, and B, some restaurant reviews for, like, Yelp on, like, fucking McDonald's and Arby's in Lansing, Michigan. Are you starting to see all the weird shit?
Yeah. Oh my God.
So this guy, Nico House, reaches out to me, I don't know, a week and a half ago. And he, do you want to talk about Tiger Swan? And I basically have told most of these people, dude, I'm backing the fuck off. I don't want anything to do with any of this. This is over my head.
Yeah.
But he wanted to talk to me. So I researched Nico House. Nico House on Facebook was the head of the student Bernie group in either North or South Carolina, one of those fucking, either North Carolina State or South Carolina State. Mm-hmm. Doesn't say he's a veteran on his Facebook. But if you search deeper online, he is a veteran. Okay. So why would you not admit you were a veteran on Facebook? And then his place of employment is a high-priced real estate company based in Miami that only sells real estate, super luxury real estate, in Manhattan and Miami. And this guy uses GoFundMes to go to the People's Climate Summit. And when I talked to him on the phone, he said, dude, because, con men, they can't help but fucking brag. Mm-hmm. So he's like, I was the first guy to turn everyone against Hillary when WikiLeaks came out. So then I was like, ding, 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 and I went back and I looked at every one of these people in this fucking group, to include, by the way, Victory Longquist.
Really?
Who is another one of them. Mm-hmm.
That Nico House has been mentioned to me several times in connection with Ed Higgins by some of the other whistleblowers I've been talking to. And I had never heard that name before, and now I'm hearing it all the time.
Yeah, because they all met up at the People's Summit together, and then they all went to Flint.
Yeah. And
here's the thing. Did I tell you about Chris Dussing, that he has a Russian wife that he married so she could get a green card?
Nope.
Yeah, he's the commander of the vets on the Cheyenne River Res. And he told me last week that he was talking about, like, armed patrols around the pipeline. And I'm like, dude, what are you even doing looking at what's going on around the fucking pipeline, because it's full of fucking oil? You can't do anything. It's there. It's full of oil.
Yeah.
So why is he noting where the patrols are on the pipeline? You see what I'm saying? Like, there is a two-pronged terror attack that's, like, quite literally a false flag attack that's going to happen whenever Trump reaches that point when they're about to fucking put the cuffs on him, which may be in the next week, because they're all in Michigan now.
I know.
And they travel through Lawrence, Kansas a lot.
Yeah, what's there?
There's some kind of staging area for them as they move between Cheyenne River and Flint. But these people are all fucking connected. And by the way, Mike Wood has like $450,000 fucking dollars in multiple bank accounts that he never paid out to vets or water protectors or donated to the tribe or put into a legal trust or anything. He just kept the fucking money.
I heard that you have messages from Michael Wood to you.
Yep.
That verify that he did leave the security in charge, that he left L'Oreal and the vets that he assigned in charge of security.
I can literally read you his text right now.
Okay.
You want me to read him to you?
Yes, please.
And then I have no computer skills, so I'll have to remember what Josh told me on how to. So let's see.
You can take pictures of them and then text them to me on Signal. That's the best way.
Okay. So let's see. I'll just start off on like the morning of December 7th, because that's when I took off, because I thought I was about to get fucking killed. Mm-hmm. And I put out a tweet that said, I'm about to be fucking killed by mercenaries from Tiger Swan. Mm-hmm. And he contacts me at 6:58 a.m., delete those last tweets. I answered, dude, not kidding, dude. Check with Heather S2, as we're missing one of our people and Tiger Swan is a suspect. Mm-hmm. He says, got it, but not publicly, that's all. I write back, Crow Dog asked me to write a letter to Obama for us to free Leonard Peltier. I wrote it, got it approved by Phyllis, and we'll send as soon as I get Wi-Fi. He responds, you must stop speaking for us, it's pissing everyone off. The troops did not sign up for that. They signed up to be water protectors. That's it. I said, okay, I'll write it for me personally. He says, perfect. So I get home that night in LA so this exchange is at 9:53. And my wife tells me he's like flying people out of Standing Rock and ordering all these buses. So I write, dude, we've got all the buses set up to leave tomorrow. If you buy everyone plane tickets, we'll be way over budget and won't have anything to give to the 2 native girls for their medical procedures. Seriously, we'll have wasted more than $150,000 on empty buses. He says, you don't have a say in this. We've thought it out. And my response is, you haven't thought it out. We're going to be way over budget with nothing to give out there to the people who really need it. We still have a ton of expenses coming in. I know you're trying to do the right thing, but this won't turn out to any of our benefit. And his answer is, okay, thanks, Wes. It's been decided already. Friday, December 9th, 7:21 a.m. Wes, I need you to not be involved right now. Would be great if you went to a hospital to get some peace for a while. I'm about to get on the plane, but you're not helping until you help yourself, and I don't believe there's any of us that don't want you to take a break. We love you, brother, and you're pushing too hard. I don't really know how to convince you to do the right thing and get some help. Friday, so I answer like 3 hours later. I'll take the weekend off. FYI, I asked Jake and Remy to work together and take care of the volunteers that stuck it out. He answers me Saturday, December 10th at 5:19 a.m. They will not be funded. I do not know them. Other plans were put in place. Wes, you do not have a say in this group until you go and take care of yourself. Remy has been a thorn. No supply tracking whatsoever. You fucked us and put lives at risk with your spiritual journeyism. I'll do my best to protect your image. Remaining vets are safe and together. L'Oreal will be there for the next 2 weeks. And I answer, you have no idea what went on out there, Mike. When did you show up? Sunday? How much time did you spend in the bar? How much time did you spend at Osetti? I've got to open this one up because it was a much longer message. How much potential for violence did you diffuse? L'Oreal utterly failed as a sergeant major when she took it upon herself to use 20 of our vets at 3 a.m. on Saturday night to play tribal politics by getting involved in the struggle between American Horse and the Horn by confiscating equipment from other factions and searching other camps' tents. She never informed me of the action, and I almost got shot Sunday night because of it. You don't know this stuff because you didn't spend Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Ochetti as I did. You also don't know that L'Oreal has no support from tribal elders while Remy does. This isn't like Black Lives Matter, and your opponents are not a bunch of small-town racist cops. We're up against a group of people that overthrow governments and murder to keep their money flowing. If you want me to step away from the group completely, I've got no problem with that. I'm perfectly happy to turn the entire thing over to you. But when I get calls from vets who are stuck in homeless shelters in Bismarck that can't get a response from you or Michelle, I'm going to help them however I can. My wife has the domain names for BSFSR, and we're more than happy to turn them over to you. But the site and symbols for the 27th Regiment will stay with me and will be used to build a spiritually focused, nonviolent movement. If you agree to these things, I'm more than happy to resign from BSFR and turn the responsibilities over to you. I don't have any hostility or rancor towards you over this, and will help with any support you need for future missions. But please be aware of who you surround yourself with and the complexity of the overall arena we will soon find ourselves in. There is nothing wrong with me either physically or mentally. I see things as they are. It's important to understand that we accomplished our mission with 0 casualties and no arrests from our action in a fluid, dangerous environment. Me and my team accomplished all of it before you ever set foot on the ground. So let me know what you'd like to do. I've got no hard feelings over this, but I do want you to be careful moving forward as the stakes are extremely high. Then he responds, I don't agree with what you stated, but I don't want to dig as I don't have any personal animosity. I have performance animosity only. Same goals, very different methodologies. The people in Ochetti are delusional. Maybe you bought into that. I'm perfectly safe despite hiding from nothing and being a huge threat. Look forward to working on projects from different angles. Maybe even better.
That's it?
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. But
Well,
also, you know, he also hired this woman named Ashley Parker. Here's the thing you have to understand, Cindy. I think this whole thing was planned, like, literally, and the ideas put in my head before I went out.
oh yeah.
I mean, and if you look at another super interesting thing, so this woman, Nora McCobie, was out in LA a couple weeks ago. She's friends with, like, Nicole Boxer and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they brought me up to this dude's house, like, in Hollywood, like, who lived in the hills. Like, whatever that canyon is that's got the fucking Hollywood sign on it.
Okay.
And the guy there is like, hey, I know this guy, Zach. Let me look up the name. Because he knew I did the veterans thing. And, let's see, Task and Purpose. Zach. So he introduces me via email to Zach Iskel, who's the guy that, like, owns Task and Purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Task and Purpose is the magazine that called to interview me when I put that warning order on, and they published that article that went out, and suddenly we went from, like, $4,000 and 30 people to, like, $1,000 and $1 million overnight.
Mm-hmm.
His reporter in their hit piece job on me that the guy wrote as the follow-up to Standing Rock,
Yeah.
all the quotes used against me they're quite literally every single one is an infiltrator. Ed Higgins, Evan Duke, like everything. All their authors do hit pieces against me all the time on their Facebook feeds, everything. So he introduced me to Zach, and I said, Zach, thanks for the initial article that got so much interest in veterans going to Standing Rock, but you should know that based on the Intercept article, I think your author used a whole bunch of infiltrator lies against me in the follow-up article, mm-hmm. and I'd be happy to write a 5,000 to 10,000 word piece about what it's like to be the target of an operation like this. Mm-hmm. The guy never fucking answered me back. Think about the amount of money I made Task and Purpose in clicks.
They used you.
They used me, and then they tried to make me look crazy and destroy me and defame me. But
yeah.
here's another thing that goes deeper. This is how I know Victory Longquist is one of them. So Victory ran this women's shelter, supposedly. She's like all peace and love, fucking follow the light bullshit. These people all speak in this kind of code words.
Mm-hmm.
So She was there the first night when I was brought up to speak to the headsman and Faith Spotted Eagle and Phyllis with my staff.
Mm-hmm.
She then made sure she was alone in a room with me on Friday with, the possibility that maybe I could put some moves on her, which I didn't do. Now, Saturday, remember me saying we couldn't get these fucking tents for the vets?
Yep.
So the tents were dropped off at like 3:30 in the fucking afternoon on Saturday the 3rd. And she told me after, that was my donor who dropped those tents off. Okay, first of all, those tents all had wooden fucking tent poles
you
and
told
pegs. Me. Okay? So she admits she's the person who dropped that off. Now, those tents, which I fucking personally, physically helped pound into the ground before I ran down to that stupid fucking thing at Sitting Bull College.
Yeah.
Those were the tents that blew down and were lit on fire and were the subject of the netizens' hit piece on me that came out December 7th. When we had a staff meeting the night of the 2nd, which the guy from Task and Purpose was at and filmed, but this was never brought up. The guy in the tent named Jake was like some kind of fucking firefighter or smoke jumper or some shit like that. And he said in the meeting, he said, dude, the way that tent went down and the way the fire spread, he's like, there's no way it wasn't deliberate. He said when it came down and we got the thing out in less than 5 minutes, but he said there was already a camera crew there with like a satellite hookup to photograph everything.
What?
Because remember, that was the big story. Because, they switch stories every once in a while. So their big story was going to be Wes Clark brings vets out to fucking Standing Rock, endangers all their lives.
Yep. Yeah, that was what Ed basically said. That's how he described you when he was talking about what you came to do. He's like, the dude was, unstable.
You've been to camp, right?
Yes, several times.
You know where those tents were? They were all the way down by the fucking river. Okay? And this is in the middle of a fucking blizzard, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it in the middle of a blizzard that the press that's all around fucking Facebook Hill or in the casino is there, right there, within 5 minutes in something that there's no way you could physically see it from Facebook Hill in the middle of a blizzard at night?
Mm-hmm.
So, but here's the other thing. So remember, I got that death threat. Mark Sanderson and Squirrel told me I was about to be fucking killed when I was at the South Gate as J.R. American Horse was coming in Sunday night.
Uh-huh.
Sean Sullivan and Travis Biolette, the guys who were with me all the time, but kept disappearing all the time and stranding me without communications or transport or anything else, they're the ones who are like, yeah, it's a real death threat. So I went under the fucking barbed wire. Travis walked with me. Sean picked me up like an hour later. Then they're like, you have to go, dude. You have to fucking get off the reservation. You got to go hide out somewhere. Maybe we could get you down to Eagle Butte tonight. I'm like, fuck no, dude. I'm not going anywhere. And I was sitting in this fucking SUV with them behind the gas station for like 2 hours. And they're like, okay, well, Victory's looking for a secret room to put you in the casino. Okay, so that's the room that we had the staff meeting in. And remember that last night when I was like, holy fuck, there's infiltrators everywhere and something's about to happen. And, well, okay, so we had the staff meeting in the room Victory had for us. Mm-hmm. And then when I came back there at about 10 or 11 at night, nobody was around except Heather, the purple-haired transvestite, who was supposedly our hacker, sitting in the hall. And none of our fucking bags were there, everything. And I was told, you can't go in the room. It's been turned into a women's shelter.
What?
Nobody can go in. I'm like, well, where's my shit? And it's like, well, Travis took it. Or Sean took it. And, like, they've got it somewhere. So they set me up then. So, of course, now there's nowhere I can go. There's nowhere I can be inside. All my shit's gone. And I know Victory is one of them because that whole phony women's shelter thing. And you have to understand, okay, the night of, I'm trying to remember the dates. December 2nd, okay?
Yeah.
Von Bull Lodge and Chris, I believe his last name is Curtis, drove me around Ochetti in their SUV. And they were telling me there's a serial rapist on the loose in camp, and that they'd found an 80-something-year-old woman with her diaper around her ankles, covered in urine a couple days earlier. Did you ever hear about that?
Well, they're talking about the same kind of thing that they said about Mary.
Yeah, and they said this to me the night of December 2nd.
Right. And did you ever see Bill Runningfisher? Because he would have been hanging around Von Bow Lodge.
I might have. I don't know. I mean, they all these fucking people played me. I don't even know if I met a single fucking legitimate water protector while I was out there.
I don't think you did.
It's like they were literally bouncing me from one crisis to another. I mean, think about it. They tried to get me to completely leave Sunday night before the blizzard and right before Mike fucking Wood got there.
Wow.
And Mike Wood was supposed to bring this fucking satellite system that would provide Wi-Fi secure for, the whole camp. Of course, he mistakenly doesn't bring it. He also spent Saturday night, the 3rd, in Bismarck. Guess who else went to Bismarck Saturday night?
Who?
Jordan fucking Tarleton.
Jordan Sheridan?
Yep.
Yeah, they were hanging out, weren't they?
Yeah, when I looked at the email threads and his threads with whatever that fucking white power bitch is with the tattoos all over that he fucks anally. You know who I'm talking about?
No, who?
Lyons,
Chelsea.
whatever her name is.
Oh.
Chelsea Lyons. So in the emails with Chelsea Lyons, because when I was shown those things, I'm reading, okay, what about when I knew it? Because I stopped by Jordan's room a lot, because I kept trying to gather information. And in those texts with her, he says he's heading up to Bismarck. And that was the same night fucking Mike Wood was in Bismarck.
So they had already made a decision about you long ago.
And even fucking contacted Mike Wood. Mike Wood was dirty from the start. By the way, he's kept like $450,000 of the money that he's used on everything from house payments to travel to buying a $60,000 booth so he can go on some fucking quote-unquote human rights warp tour type thing this summer.
What really disturbs me, I mean, obviously there's lots of people that went out there and made a bunch of money off of exploiting people's emotions, but and I've talked about how the protest movements and the water wars, the wars that we're going to have over water and resources, they're going to be money makers for opportunists in this country and everywhere else.
Oh, well, let me take you back farther in my story. I worked for some dude, guy from England who went to the London School of Economics for like 2 months back in, I want to say it was 2011, to go to an AUSA convention in DC and help him sell this body armor he had, which was actually a pretty cool body armor. I've got a suit of it at home. But we had lunch with this woman, and fuck, I can't remember her name, but my dad had told me that she was she'd been on Fox News. She was blonde. She was about, 5'2". She had an Arabic tattoo on her arm. She was supposedly dating a NASCAR driver. But during this lunch, she described how she ran a black site in Iraq, and fuck Obama because that motherfucker took all the money away. And what the fuck are we going to do now? Mm-hmm. And now I think with Standing Rock and all this stuff about to go down, you know what they've all decided to do.
What?
They're going to fucking take down the government, create martial law, and get themselves paid to repress us.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, I did see a lot of that happening in Latin America. So I've talked about this in those terms, this is coming over the border. It's going to be something that will become normal here in the United States, and it's not something that Americans are willing to believe could happen to them.
I don't know how they can't, considering the state of affairs we're in today. I mean, what's essentially happened is the same exact thing that happened, well, I mean, a different variation of it, in Mexico and in Russia.
Yeah.
Which is your elite security forces decided, fuck, man, let's make some real money, and they turn into organized crime, and they wreck the society.
Yep. But at the time, I remember having an argument with my dad when Calderon took power, and he's like, no, you don't understand. He's going to clean up the corruption because he's a general, and all of the military will follow him, and we will have real control. And that's not what happened.
Nope.
Instead, we had chaos and murder.
Yeah, and that's coming to our possibly. Here's the other thing. I mean, all these guys tried to reach out, like, you know that guy Jeremy White?
Yes. Oh.
First of all, he tried to wrap me up in an AIM protest on the 9th of December when I got back to LA.
AIM is involved.
Oh, there's no fucking question. And there's no question Jeremy White's involved. He said, hey, I wanted to talk to you about Ed Higgins. And then I noticed Jeremy White made a comment the day before that fucking congressman show this week that, oh my God, I feel like the world is about to radically change in the next 7 days.
Oh God.
So that's why, I mean, all these people are moving to Flint right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're all either there or on their way there. And whatever is going to happen, you know, maybe it won't happen in the next week, but they're all there ready in case Trump or the Russians need to pull the trigger.
Yeah. Man, and the people there do not want them there. The people of Flint do not want them there.
Well, that's the goal, is that they don't want you there, and then you can initiate the fight between African Americans and veterans trying to help them.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to play.
I have this.
You understand? Every one of these people has tried to get me involved in shit. And every one of them, to include Victory Lundquist with all her fucking peace and love, they all try and push me into getting in groups and other people to physically fight people in the streets.
Wow.
Like Antifa and shit.
Well, we have to expose them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully this FBI thing will do it. But the crazy thing is, I never would have figured any of this out without the Kathleen Bennett case and see where people's interviews didn't match up, because I just told the fucking truth.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know you, Wes. So
No, and I don't know you either. And frankly, part of me was incredibly suspicious for a while that this was all a setup.
yes, I mean, me too. You know, so
But
I
I did the prior to 2015 search on you, and I found that you wrote for the High Plains Reader, and that you formed this nonprofit in 2014. I'm like, okay, that doesn't. I know they lay down the tracks for this stuff long term, but I don't think they would have gone back that far.
yeah, my stuff goes back really far. But I don't know you, but I've heard about you as a person. And so when I was hearing all of the people I was interviewing talk about you, like you were either a drug addict or a lunatic
Well, I smoke pot.
or a man-child that can't control his emotions, I was like, either this guy, Wesley, appears on the outside to be put together and inside is a complete fuck-up, or the people talking about him hate him. They really hate him. Even the people that were trying to, you know, I'm talking here in air quotes, be nice about you, were still shit-talking you in a really mean way. Like,
I know.
and
I can't tell you how badly it's all fucked with my head.
I imagine.
But I felt it like constantly. Like there were so many situations, both in the planning of it and then once I got out there, where I was like, this doesn't feel right.
You also strike me as the kind of person that has this, like, very gentle demeanor about you, even when somebody is doing something really mean to you. Because
Yeah, but I can get angry and be a dick like anyone else.
I will try to. I'll take your word on it because I don't see it. I heard, personally, if Michael Wood Jr. had said the stuff he said to you in that text, I would have flipped out because, like, I talked to him one time, and I thought the guy was for real. Like, I remember.
I did too.
I wrote an article about him because I kind of admired him for exposing brutality against people in law enforcement, something that I've been talking about for years. And I thought, this guy, somebody should give that guy a medal because I bet that all the Leos want to kill him for exposing how frequently they plant evidence on people and drugs and how frequently they lie about this or use, force unnecessarily, etc. But when I talked to him about Kathleen Bennett, I heard a man who was unwilling to take any responsibility for anything that he did related to the veteran stand.
I'll tell you one other thing. Okay, so the morning of the 6th, this is mid-blizzard, I got word that there was some vet with PTSD in the camp that had been acting weird and that was bipolar and had left a suicide note, and they couldn't find him. So I said, dude, we need to gather everybody up and form what's called a police line. Everyone lines up shoulder to shoulder and you kind of walk like a huge field. I mean, well, let's go find him. And he says, no, fuck that guy. Everybody's responsible for themselves. The exact quote.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's just, when I talked to him, he didn't even have any human reaction to the things I was telling him. L'Oreal said.
These people are all sociopaths. They're all sociopaths.
Yeah.
I mean, who the fuck else would do something like this? Can I tell you what his worst idea was? And this is, going back and look at it, now I'm like, holy fuck, it totally makes sense. So he talked to me like on the 24th or 25th or something, and he said, dude, I have 4 buses full of black Nation of Islam militants who were going to, put on a bus to go to Mandan and surround the police station.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, do not do that. I'm like, you will freak everyone the fuck out in Mandan, you'll have a race riot.
Yeah, Mandan. Has he ever heard of Mandan before? Jesus.
Yeah, so, I mean, but think about it. Think about all these fucking weird things that don't add up about all these specific people.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, Sadef Bukyatiman came into my life around the same time I talked to this woman online on Twitter.
Why did she stay behind? Because she was loyal to you, wasn't she? Or am I misreading that?
Well, here's the thing. She was loyal to me to use if she is not who she says she is. She went out there. She has some romantic relationship with Christopher Dussing.
Ah.
So, but here's the weird thing. She kept her apartment in Santa Monica, and it's like $2,300 a month rent. And she's continued paying it, and she's been out there since fucking February, and she's still fucking there. So she spent like $13,000 or $14,000, keeping her place in Santa Monica while she's living out there, and then claims she has no money to travel back to Los Angeles.
Well, she was handing out money to people like Bill Runningfisher.
Yeah, no, I'm starting to think every single fucking person that came into my life after I talked to this woman on Twitter was somehow is not who they say they are.
Yeah.
And I've turned all their names and connections and Facebook profiles and Twitter handles and everything else over to the FBI.
What was your experience of Christina Holland back when you were at Standing Rock?
She was super warm before I came. She was super warm and friendly the first night I got there. And then it was like I was irrelevant. There was no warmth, there was no friendliness in the conversation. Let me tell you something else freaky about it. Did I tell you about Gwendolyn Cates?
No.
Okay, so she was a documentary filmmaker out there. She did a documentary a couple years ago about the Yazidi in Iraq, and she's like all fucked up with PTSD from it. And she did a big documentary about the Onondaga Indians in upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
So she's putting together this thing on Standing Rock, and she actually, I think, showed a preview of it at that Standing Rock Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Sean Stone was also at that festival.
Okay.
So Gwendolyn told me that Christina came to her house before the Standing Rock Film Festival, said she needed to detox from Standing Rock. And by the way, Christina doesn't know Gwendolyn that much, but I saw Gwendolyn when I was in New York at an NYU conference that Phyllis showed up to.
Phyllis
with
Young.
this woman, Trish, whatever her name is.
Phyllis Young.
So, yes.
Okay.
So I'm sure they were like, what the fuck was Wes talking to her about? Check her out, see what kind of footage she has, type of thing. So she stayed at my friend's house for a fucking week, okay?
Huh.
You know, supposedly detoxing. Who goes to a fucking stranger's house in New York City to detox? Who the fuck does that? And then leaves on the 7th day saying, okay, I feel better now, and goes and gets a hotel room. So she obviously had money for a hotel room the whole time. But here's the weirdest fucking part of it. When I first met Christina, that first night out there in Standing Rock, and when I talked to her on Signal before I went, she said that she was in Egypt, in Cairo, helping the democracy activists in the Arab Spring.
What?
Here's the freaky part. So she stays at a woman's house in New York that she's kind of acquaintances with, who did a huge documentary on the Yazidi and lived in Iraq, and she never mentions in that week that she's ever been to the Middle East.
What?
Yeah. Doesn't that sound suspicious to you?
Of course it does. It's completely suspicious. It's giving me flashbacks. Because, you know, after I talked to you,
Oh, no, here's the other thing. You know, Christina showed up as the person RT interviewed about Standing Rock, at Standing Rock, within 24 hours of arriving there, right?
yes, I did know that. I didn't.
And did Josh send you the signal messages between she and I?
No, he was driving and he couldn't send them send that stuff. He said he'd have to do it today when he got to a laptop. Because he was driving. You still there? Did I drop your call?
Cindy?
Yes.
Hey, sorry, somebody called me.
Okay.
Can I read you these messages? Because they are also going.
Yes, please.
Jot copies of them. I know I sent it as an.
Are you outside? I can't hear you. Oh, I think.
Can you hear me?
There, that's better.
Okay. So I gotta check. Let's see. Signal screen grabs. Let me go to sent. So I must have sent this.
Christina Hollenbeck, wasn't she based out of D.C.?
She goes all over the place. She's part of this Nexus group, and the Nexus people reached out to me to have me meet folks for drinks last Thursday.
Really?
Mm-hmm. This is like James Bond level shit going on.
It's creepy.
It's super creepy. Listen, I will send you the screen grabs.
Mm-hmm.
email. Should I send them to you? And by the way, Josh has copies of them as well. In it, you see she arrives in camp. She asks me to introduce her to Phyllis.
Mm-hmm.
She gives me all these other people who I need to call, who I need to talk to include JR American Horse.
So she brought him up right away.
Yeah, no, you'll see from the record. Josh has copies of all this shit. And I sent copies of all of it to the FBI.
So the first things that came out of Bill Running Fisher's mouth, who's the very first person I interviewed on the Kathleen Bennett case, he talked about everything that he claims to have found with regard to Mary, and then he moved right on to telling me about how dangerous the camps were, how there was some kind of, there was rapes going on, and there was this Sioux Warrior Society, and this JR American Horse who leads it, and he had to be removed from the camp because something about him building explosives or something. And he told me that JR American Horse was the person responsible for the majority of the violent actions taken against Morton County.
I will tell you, JR had the single worst idea I ever fucking heard from anyone out there.
Which was?
When I went to his, you know about the whole thing where L'Oreal interrupted the Chanupa ceremony and verbally berated him in front of everybody? Okay, so about 2 hours before that, I went and I sat down in his little fucking Winnebago and talked to him. And he said, what we're going to do is, we've got some Native Special Forces vets, and they're going to infiltrate, and they're going to sneak up behind the mercenaries, and they're going to zip cuff them and take their weapons. And I was like, dude, if you do that, A, people will be killed, and B, every fucking person involved is going to go to jail for kidnapping.
Yeah.
I literally got down on my hands and knees and begged him not to do that. I don't think JR is necessarily the bad guy, but he definitely had someone whispering bad things into his ear.
Yeah.
Because to believe that you could get away with something like that is beyond fucking delusional.
Yeah. But I heard from other people that the real reason why he was removed was because he was planning on taking Turtle Island and planning an action on the bridge, and there were no actions approved.
No, he told me that shit, and I was like, no fucking way. I was just trying to unify everybody into getting one large group of people. But,
right.
You know, and also I kept hearing a lot out there from elders who were all around Christina that, you know, we're thinking about going to the UN and asking Russia for protection.
What?
I don't know if you ever heard that shit.
No.
One more thing. So Gwendolyn Cates told me that Menape is supposedly trying to do some talk at the UN in July.
What? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And do you know anything about Louis Grassrope?
I don't think so. I'd have to see a picture of someone to recognize. Oh, and one person I did recognize after we talked. So obviously all these different groups didn't know each other. Like I think it was a combination of, you know, everything from informants to mercenaries to fucking Russian agents to FBI undercover. I mean, there must have been like 300 people in that camp who weren't who they said they were.
Yeah.
But, you know, that whole Tyvek structure was like the Tiger Swan OP. Mm-hmm. The one they burned down. Mm-hmm. I just sensed it fucking day one because Ed Higgins was around it, Evan Duke was around it, Mark Sanderson, all those fuckers gave me the fucking heaves.
That's why they burned it.
Yeah, of course that's why they burned it, but here's the thing. So I was convinced L'Oreal was a fucking infiltrator by like Saturday or Sunday. I mean, just beyond like, okay, this isn't someone with a personality disorder, this is someone who is actively trying to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
And I said to Michael Marcus, because I didn't know the guy's name until I looked at it on Facebook much later, but I recognized him because he was always wearing that fucking hat and he had kind of longish hair, and he said he was from Pine Ridge, and I figured, oh, you're probably the same age as L'Oreal, who says she's from Pine Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, do you know L'Oreal Blackshaw? Because you'd be about the same age. I think there's only 13,000 fucking people living there. And he's like, I've never heard of a L'Oreal Blackshaw.
Mm-hmm.
The very next time I spoke to her, within an hour or two, she says, you may not be able to find my last name online. Because I changed it a year ago. It used to be Bell.
Mm-hmm.
But my father used to beat us, so I decided I didn't want to carry his name anymore.
Oh, it didn't have anything to do with the fact that her daughter was murdered along with 2 other girls on the opening day of a casino on her reservation that was never resolved by the feds?
She also told me one of her boyfriends was a Medal of Honor winner. I just know there's, like, I don't think they all knew who each other were.
No, but you know what?
That's the thing.
Their MOs were very similar because they almost all of them had changed their names or had several aliases, multiple aliases. I think Mulaney has 8 different last names.
Well, I think Mulaney went in and out of that room that was the women's shelter after they kicked me out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was never allowed to go in the room because women were suffering in there.
Man.
I mean, I got set up, Cindy, by I honestly don't think I met a single water protector. I really don't think I did.
No, you probably didn't.
Because they knew I was going to do it weeks in advance before they ran the article. They knew we had an open structure and anybody could jump in.
Do you know
They knew to set the story up, everything.
Do you know what's really troubled me ever since I did the first interview with you? You told me that you and some of your men went down and inspected, shrapnel and other debris around the bridge.
Travis Violette went down and did it.
Oh, shit.
He was out there days before I was. He went down and did it. He said he collected all the evidence. He said he turned it into legal. Then, suddenly, 2 days later, as if he forgot, he produces something he thinks may be an IED.
Really?
And that thing was literally a shock absorber with some fucking caulk put in the top and a fucking circuit board super glued to the fucking bottom of it. It wasn't anything real. But he produced this thing, and then and I knew he was one as well, because I was like, really? You have something like that in your possession for 48 hours and you don't tell me?
Right.
Like, something like that slips your fucking mind. And then, of course, it was brought out after the fucking meeting that we had, the staff meeting on the night of the 6th.
So
when it was like, now let's really fuck with him.
Mm-hmm. When I first talked to Bill Runningfisher, he said that he was with a guy, because I asked him over and over, do you have any evidence? Was there a picture? Was there somebody with a video camera? Anything? And he's like, well, one of the people that was with me had a GoPro. He always had a GoPro. That was Travis. And I said, what's Travis's last name? And he was like, and he never could remember Travis's last name.
Here's the freaky thing about Travis. Okay, so once the death threat happens, the first time there, he's got, listen, they all have a sob story.
Mm-hmm.
Because con artists take advantage of people's compassion.
Yes.
So the sob story for Travis was, he had some black girlfriend, he was, somehow got kicked out of the Navy for something involving some kind of sexual ambiguity, like he's bi or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he was the guy who walked with me when I left camp in the dark wearing a bulletproof vest. He was the guy who sat in the SUV. He was the guy when we got to the new room, like the way he moved, because I'm like, let's search it for bugs, take apart all the fucking lights.
Uh-huh.
The way he jumped on the bed and took apart the ceiling lights and everything else, he moved with a surety that wasn't like Joe Stoner, lackadaisical victim. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But not just that. 2 days later, when I saw him take off his shirt, his entire torso is one massive, complicated tattoo that all focuses in on a central thing on his chest, which is a giant fucking question mark.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
That's really creepy.
Yeah.
When you told me that that somebody had turned over, debris and shrapnel from around the bridge to the Water Protector Legal Collective, my heart fell, because I had been collecting evidence of people after they were arrested, just taking pictures of, their bloody clothes and the places where they were tasered, or the marks left behind by the zip ties or the bruises that they got from the cops.
Oh, shit. Let me tell you more about Travis.
Okay.
So Travis went to Occupy Inauguration as well, as part of the whole Veterans Respond thing. Mm-hmm. Everyone in fucking Veterans Respond, I'm convinced, is one of them. Mm-hmm. And then he went to New York City and partied with this woman named Katie Bunny, who was supposedly a fucking, independent media person out there.
Okay.
And then he goes, back to Standing Rock, of course, for the fall of Ochetti. And he gets arrested on the way out there for, a tiny amount of vape marijuana in a pen. Pictures are taken of him, put on Netizen, the Netizen propaganda site.
Uh-huh.
That pictures of propane bottles in the back of his car and everything like that. So he's charged with this. He goes to camp. I find out about it. I'm like, holy fuck, dude. Let me try and get you a fucking lawyer. Let me try and get you somewhere to stay. Get the fuck out of there, because if you get hit with a felony on the way in and then you get more in camp, dude, you could spend the rest of your life in jail. Get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
So I arranged for a place for him to stay in South Dakota. I talked to someone who knew a DA in South Dakota, and had a house for him to stay in, and he wouldn't leave. He stayed there the whole fucking time.
Wow.
And if you look at his Facebook fucking profile, he's blowing bubble gum.
Yeah.
With shades on, sitting back in a lawn chair like he's one cool cucumber.
Yeah.
Who the fuck, looking at going to jail in the Dakotas for pot, is a chilled out, cool motherfucker blowing bubbles in a lawn chair at Ochetti when they may be facing a life sentence if they get caught?
That's like Dean Dedman was the same way. He was didn't care that he was going to be arrested.
Yeah, and not just that. He was with Sadef and Chris Dussing the whole fucking time.
Yeah, well, those Water Protector Legal Collective people, they didn't want any of the evidence I had. I contacted them several times. I went out there to their tent when I went to get my media pass one time that I went out there, and I said, hey, I want to just check in with you guys. I got all that stuff. Who do I give it to? And they're like, we'll get back to you. And then they never got back to me.
Of course not.
It's like they didn't want the shit.
No, they don't. Because, listen, you understand how much money there is in oil, right?
Yeah.
And whether it's, silver or bullets, there's more than just this money. I mean, I run in weird circles. I make connections to weird people because I live out in Hollywood and I was a writer. Mm-hmm. So I had dinner in 2015 with a guy named George Ratas. He set up the electronic crimes division of the Secret Service, and he, for the last couple of years, has been the head of information security for Citigroup/Citibank. Mm-hmm. He came out to meet with me because they wanted to make a movie or a TV show about the Alex Gonzalez case.
Okay.
That's the case where essentially everybody lost track of Russian hackers. Once that case was blown. Mm-hmm. He told me, and by the way, this is coming from the head of information security for Citigroup.
Yeah.
In October 2015, told me that more money had been stolen by the Russians from the U.S. banking system than the size, in the previous 12 months, than the size of the entire illegal drug market.
What the fuck?
And I said, you mean cocaine? And he said, no, the size of the entire illegal drug market.
What the?
So, put all these fucking pieces together, Ed Higgins, who is not Tiger Swan, Blackwater. Eric Prince, Blackwater, who was trying to set up a back channel to the Russians in the Maldives before the inauguration.
Wow.
This is literally the Kathleen Bennett story, literally is what exposes the entire fucking thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard for people to hear that or believe it, but you have no idea how badly they've been messing with her in the jail. They wouldn't tell us what jail she was in.
I believe they've been fucking with my head nonstop for 6 months.
They're keeping her from getting her medicine. They wouldn't let the new lawyer that we got for her be her lawyer. Like, they wouldn't let her sign the paperwork so that she could change lawyers. It's been like a constant battle to have any kind of communication with her. Nobody can put money into her commissary. That Josh Selly, one of the investigators on this case, showed up.
Russell speaks to her every day.
He talks to her, yes, but they couldn't get any money in her commissary, and she can't get medication for her back pain. And you know what? The guy that investigated this case after J.D. Grubel, the guy that shows up in all of the Intercept email exchanges, Josh Selly showed up at her transport. Talk about intimidation.
Whoa.
Yeah. She was freaked the fuck out.
You've called the FBI, haven't you?
Oh, of course I did. It was one of the first fucking things that we did. Not that that did us any good, but yeah.
But it's on record somewhere in a recording.
Yeah, I recorded it too for posterity because, you know, and the woman I was talking to, I'm sure she was just some person that, you know, takes these calls in some phone bank situation somewhere, but she didn't know what the fuck Standing Rock was, and I literally thought she was joking. I said, you know, this happened at Standing Rock, and she's like, what's that? And I'm like, are you kidding?
No, same reaction when I called.
I said, are you kidding me right now? Like, are you living under a rock? Did you not turn on the television at any point during this summer? You know, like, what?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they acted like when I talked to them, so I was just really frustrated. I felt like, well, I just feel like I yelled into the wind, you know?
You did. You did. This thing is still ongoing, Cindy. The question is, will the authorities actually fucking look at the truth and find it out before the event happens?
Well, we told the FBI a long time ago, and they didn't listen to us. Now you've told them. What if they don't listen to you?
I mean, here's the thing. All I know is what I've seen and heard and watched. And a whole bunch of shit just doesn't add the fuck up. Mm-hmm. And part of the whole gaslighting, I mean, you have no idea how bad these people fucked with my head. They've been in my house.
Well, listen, Leslie.
They did all this spirit shit to me before I went out there to make me think I was like the second coming, essentially.
When they were evacuating the camps, they sent a crazy bitch to my house. She was one of the people that was in the hotel room with Dean Dedman, the drone pilot, when I interviewed him.
Oh my God, did she have white chick, short hair?
Long hair, white chick, long hair.
Oh, okay.
But this chick showed up at my house and literally came here to get me arrested. She was trying everything she fucking could to get me arrested at a time when the cops were frequenting my home, at a time when people were coming around my house. I think they were trying to serve me with a subpoena because there was no arrest warrants for me anywhere. Nobody tried to serve me to sue me, and I don't have, you know, they got nothing on me. So I'm like, I'm just not going to answer the door. If they can't serve me for a grand jury, they can't get my information or my sources. And all of the data that I had on interviews and shit, I got rid of it. I gave it to my lawyer, and I was like, bye, you know? Mm-hmm. They're not going to get any of my stuff. The only way they can get me is if they actually subpoena me, in which case they can say that I'm in contempt for not answering their questions, and then they can put me in jail. But if I never answer the door, they can't do anything.
See, I have no legal sense. I'm just a stupid, trusting person who's been taken advantage of most of his life.
I don't understand how you can be so nice to people that are so mean to you.
Well, because in the past I haven't been. I mean, I was the victim of a racial attack in like 1995, and it really fucked my head up for about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, since then, I've kind of had it. I mean, I've been through some traumatic shit in my life. But I was also an Army brat, so you just have to kind of trust everybody because you're moving every year or two. So you can't be closed off. You have to be open. It's like when I was putting together the Standing Rock thing, I didn't do anything with the Wes Clark Jr. page or the GoFundMe, but I answered every fucking message that came into me on that page on Facebook. I talked to everybody because and I talked to everybody in whatever language they approach me. So if somebody came at me like, "I am an angel of the Lord," I'm like, "Hey, me too. You know, tell me whatever." And
so can I ask you something? Weren't you upset with TYT? I mean, the network itself and the way that they treated this whole situation with you and Michael?
You know about Anna Kasparian, right?
Yes, I do.
So here's the thing. I've known Anna since she was like fucking 19 years old.
Oh.
I trust her. She doesn't never trusted Jordan or Mike Wood. And she doesn't want to see a station that she was at that grew from a tiny thing to whatever destroyed by Jordan and fucking Mike Wood.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to push the fuck out of this story.
That's amazing.
But there's another weird thing, and I just have to mention it because it makes me feel weird.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some guy who's approached me. He wants me to do a reality show with vets growing weed in Northern California and advertise like CBD tablets on the Young Turks. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll introduce you to Cenk. So I called Cenk about it 2 days ago, and he's like, dude, my plane's about to take off. I'm in Milan. I'm flying to Istanbul, and I'll be back in the States on the 21st. So here's why I feel weird about this. Didn't 2 weeks ago the Turkish government try to have an NBA star arrested in Romania for shit his dad said about Erdogan?
Something like that.
And, I mean, how the fuck can Cenk go there for 11 days when he runs a show called The Young Turks that calls out Erdogan all the time? How can he do that? And here's the other weird thing. Listen, and I've told my wife this and my parents this, and Cenk can verify it. So after I did that Young Turk show on the night, I think of the 8th or 9th, right when I got back, I went up to Cenk's office and I literally told him, dude, I am fucking Enoch. I'm one of the 2 fucking witnesses that's coming for the end times, and let me tell you, everything's going to play out. And I go through this whole thing with him, and he reacts to it as if I'm telling him I need to go down to the store and get a gallon of milk.
Yeah, that's off. That's weird. I was going to ask you about Cenk. I'm asking you about Cenk, and now you're telling me because...
Here's the thing. He's also... And because, now I got to look at, okay, what are their weak points? Why would the Russians or the Turks or anybody else, why would they involve them in this? Okay, first of all, alternative media.
Yeah.
They push the whole Bernie thing. They also push the whole Hillary Clinton's a crook, and we all have to go with Jill Stein thing. And it just doesn't smell right to me.
It doesn't to me either. And what about,
and Cenk and Ben are both major gamblers. And when I mean major gamblers, I mean they were telling me before we did Old School, like a year ago, that they lost 20 grand in Vegas.
Jesus.
I mean, these guys gamble all the fucking time. And when you think about who Soviet agents or other agents are going to recruit, it's guys who love hookers and gamblers.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I was concerned with is giving this information to somebody that will be cock-blocked by Cenk, because I had the same kind of a check in my spirit about Cenk, especially because, here's what I saw. I saw you thrown under the bus by their network, and
when I saw that Jank, because Michael Wood Jr. kind of went like radio silent for a long time, and how he was having Sedef raise his money for him for the Veteran Stand for Standing Rock stuff, and all of a sudden he reappears with Jank, and they're doing some fundraiser for the Resist movement against Trump, and I was like, oh, you're promoting him again. Wow. Even after everything that happened, now you're promoting Michael Wood Jr. again. And that pissed me the fuck off. And then, when the Intercept article came out, he tweeted about you, and he said, Wes was right. And I thought, oh, you're going to say Wes was right, but you're not going to say we were wrong?
Can I tell you about another weird thing with Young Turks? Because they've always promised me, they always promised me like a talk show. They've never given me a talk show. But in 2012, no, this is 2011, like summer. This story is going to be like a short story. So there's this woman who goes by the name of, oh God, what the fuck was her name? She had dark hair, but she supposedly just left Cargill, and she had a patent for some fat substitute for meats or something like that, and she knew, hey, there's General Clark's son, I'll contact him. Oh, her name was Sandra Fowler.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, we'll have a meeting, and she was hot. I mean, she had like big tits and like dark hair, beautiful. And she came over for a business meeting because I was staying at Oakwood Apartments in the marina, and she comes over and she's 2 hours late, and she's fucking wasted. And then she goes, do you have white wine? I want some more white wine. Let's go get some white wine. So we go up to the mini mart in the Oakwood, and we buy 2 bottles of fucking white wine. We then go back to my apartment, and something feels off. I'm like, okay, yeah, it'd be cool to sleep with her, but I'm afraid this is the kind of chick who's gonna like steal my shit. So, or is setting me up for something. So I'm like, let me get you a cab. I wait outside with her for 2 hours. She tries to argue how she can't get a cab. No one can pick her up. It's too far to her house. Yada, yada. 2 days later, I get a call from this woman named Lily Moon Garcia, who says, Sandra talks about you all the time. She's obsessed with you. I'm a friend of hers. She's missing. We're looking for her. Let me know. And then another message like, if you see her, don't tell her we're looking for her, which immediately, you're like, ding, 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 what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I talked to Lily Moon Garcia, who turns out is a pregnant woman who gives facials on Main Street in Santa Monica. And she was calling because Sandra Fowler stole all her cash tips, fucked one of her friend's husbands, and ran up like $4,000 in credit card bills or something like that. Like it was just shy of what you get arrested for like grand larceny.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I'm like, because you hear something like this from someone you don't know on Facebook at all, and you're like, what the, do I trust this person? But I'm like, well, what did she spend it on? She goes, she went to Macy's on this day, and she went to here on this day, and she goes, and this was 2 nights earlier, and these 2 bottles of white wine at the Oakwood convenience store. So I went, holy shit.
Oh,
this is an identity thief, and this woman is telling me she's pregnant. She's either pregnant or she's got like a really young baby, and she's about to get married next weekend, and the police won't do anything in a case of that number unless the evidence and the person are at the same place where the police are. Does that make sense?
Yes. So
what I called Cenk. I tell him what's going on.
Yeah.
I tell him I want somebody like a camera there or something.
Yeah.
A cameraman, because I'm going to set her up in the next 24 hours. She's always talking about how she wants to be on the Young Turks and talk about what Obama's food policy should be. By the way, she's a total food snob. Like one of these people who takes pictures of these super expensive restaurants all over the world, smiling with the chefs, drinking wine everywhere. So I tell her I'm going to meet her at the Whaler, which is this dive bar down right near the pier at the end of Washington Boulevard in Venice. She meets me there. I've got the cameraman with me. We get high. We go over there. I'm on my 3rd Jack and Coke by the time she shows up. We start shooting, and as we start shooting, and I'm asking her this stuff, I text, Lily Moon Garcia. I'm like, I've got her here. This is where she is. And she knew I was going to be meeting her there. And in the middle of the interview, the police walk up to her, put her hand on her shoulder, and they go, Sandra Fowler. She practically falls out of the fucking stairs. Camera then follows us down the staircase, past the woman who's pregnant with a baby in her arms, with her soon-to-be husband who was robbed. And they put Sandra Fowler in the back of a fucking police car, and all the evidence exchanges hands right there. Not only that, the drink she paid with when she got to the bar were on that woman's credit card. So, and here's the thing, they never ran it. And this woman was hot. I mean, this would have been like a 2-3 million click story.
Yeah.
They never ran it. They refused to run it. They said they'd be in legal jeopardy
What?
if they ran it.
For
Yeah.
what? For what?
Because if she was found innocent, they'd be in legal jeopardy. I'm
Oh,
like,
God.
literally
Like,
the
they
evidence
really
here.
care about that shit.
I know, but think about it. If Cenk is not who he says he is, and by the way, they used me for legitimacy when they first started.
Obviously.
And of course, never gave me a show. I barely come on the main shows anymore. It's just, I just feel like I've been set up and manipulated by people for possibly as long as 5 or 6 years.
Can I ask you an honest question? Do you really think they're going to let Anna run with the story then?
Well, here's the thing. I also told John Iadrola about it, and I brought up the question to both of them, how is Cenk able to be in Turkey for 2 weeks after what he said about Erdogan?
Mm-hmm.
Neither one could give me a mention, other than they said, we must be protected because he's an American citizen.
Huh.
But isn't part of Cenk's story that he was born in Turkey?
Yeah.
So Turkey could also claim he's a citizen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
So, I think Cenk works for some kind of Turkish intelligence or the Russians. I mean, fuck, the producer of the show, Irina Nichita, is Russian, even though on Facebook she says she's a Romanian.
Well, let me tell you something. I was watching his do you remember when they came out with Cenk's documentary?
Yes.
I can't remember how many years ago that was. It was not that long ago.
6 years ago, probably.
Really?
4 or 5.
Okay, I guess it was a while back. Anyway, I'm an avid documentary film watcher. And that one kind of stuck out to me because there's kind of several different genres of documentaries. And there's definitely this niche of documentaries that are like pure propaganda,
Yeah.
And they're literally paid for by like the Flim Flam guy. I call him Flim Flam guy. His name is McAleer, and the oil companies hire him. He's a documentary filmmaker, quote unquote. But the oil companies hire him.
You mean, wait, the guy who made Cenk's movie?
What do you mean, Cenk's movie? No.
No.
This other guy that I'm comparing what this movie, the Cenk's movies felt like to me, is like a paid propaganda thing, right? So I know that there's movies that are not like made by genuine documentary filmmakers that are out there to try to expose something that we don't know about, and that they're actually made by very rich companies or people that have...
Because who the fuck else can afford to make a documentary? You don't make any money off documentaries.
Right. Or, and about one person, like documentaries about individuals instead of like topics are even more rare. So when you find
By
one...
the way, I just want you to know, Cindy, if you're recording this, I'm totally okay with it.
Thank you. I always am recording everything.
Perfect.
I always
Thank
am
you.
recording everything.
Because I should also say I'm in perfect health and I am not suicidal.
Okay, good. Thank you. But I will tell you that when I saw that movie about Cenk, it kind of left me scratching my head like, what is going on with this movie? Like, why do I need to love Cenk and his network and his, rise to stardom? What is this about? Why is this being planted in my brain? But you know what? I noticed that after that documentary, his network really started getting a lot more traction, especially on social media. So it worked. The propaganda that the Young Turks is the new it thing, the new alternative media that you can trust. That's what I heard. And then I watched the movie Get Me Roger Stone. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, you should. Anyway, that movie had Cenk in it. And when I saw that movie and I watched these players, I felt like I was...
Holy shit, and they had that fake fight.
Yes! They had that fake fight.
Holy shit.
And I was sitting there going with the people from InfoWars and everything, and I'm like, am I watching wrestling right now? What the fuck is this? What is this?
Holy shit.
Yes.
So, okay, Cindy, all you're doing is you're reconfirming every suspicion I have right now.
Yeah. That's why I was really, really worried about you talking with Josh and Russell and Anna, because I thought, what are they going to do? Are they just going to take this shit and bury it, or give it to the wrong people and use it against us? I mean...
I know she does not like Michael Wood, and I know she doesn't like Jordan, and I know she doesn't like that other new guy they hired who did the fake story about Maxine Waters slapping his hand.
But what about Cenk? I mean, if he has authority over her, he can just kill the story.
Cenk has hired all those people.
Yeah.
Cenk has hired all those people.
Yep.
And most of them he's known his entire life.
Great.
Because those are the easiest people to manipulate. The entire core of what is TYT, Malcolm, Steve-O, all those guys, they've known him. They literally grew up with him.
Great.
And I told Steve-O about this too. I told John, like I'm 100% positive convinced he recorded me upstairs in his office when I told him I was Enoch. Positive. And then he'll just play that back to Anna Kasparian and John and say, see, Wes is crazy, you don't have to listen to him.
Well, although I do record everybody that I talk to, I will also tell you that I always ask people if I can share their information on the air or broadcast them before I do it. And the main reason why I record is because people threaten to sue me all the fucking time. People threaten to sue me if I misquote them. People threaten to sue me if I say something that they told me, you know?
Yeah, no, you can play whatever you want. I mean, it all depends on, backing some of it up, because I don't have any more physical proof than the text these people sent me, because most things were done in conversation, over signal, or face-to-face.
Well, I don't know that I would play what we're talking about right now to anybody, because...
no, but definitely keep it recorded so that if this story breaks, because look, I told the FBI, and I'm sure they're all now looking at their files and seeing everybody calling me crazy and paranoid when I was out there, which maybe they won't listen to me, but if they are listening to me, they're going to move fast as fuck on all these people, and you'll be the only people who can say, hey, I knew it was going on the whole time. Here's us talking about it.
Exactly.
But I really, 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 really strongly suspect Cenk of something.
I have too. I have suspected him, and I think it's very clear that they are working with Michael Wood. And when I saw the veterans coming in, I wasn't cheering, not because I don't like veterans, but because I felt there was an ominous presence within them. And that they weren't coming to protect the water protectors, they came to shut everything down.
You are 100% right. It was always the plan from the beginning, and I was supposed to be the fall guy for it. Either that I would die there, or that they could just use me later to frame me for something.
Okay. That is all I'm going to play for you today.
Yeah.
There is more. And there are many other interviews that I did with Wesley before this and after this. This one had so much information. I really felt like, especially right now with everything that's happening, it was really important for me to share what he told me last year in June. And I also think that that's going to help us be able to pick up with this story and everything else that I've been telling you is going on right now, and how it connects back to the Kathleen Bennett story and my investigations on Standing Rock. So thank you for being with us and sharing this information out to the public so everyone can learn. And thanks for being with Cindy Gomez-Schempp
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
on the Mexican Crossing Lines. I was interviewing Wesley Clark Jr. on June 16, 2017. So that was
Correct.
the interview you just heard. And the show is Freak the F Out. Please tune in next time for more information about this. Good night.
Second place, second